Oh, it's so bright. Holy shit. Is that better? Not really. Holy shit. Okay. Hi. Maybe let me get one more light on here. Did that do anything? No, not really. All right. What's up, everybody? In today's video, girl. All right. We are talking about House of the Dragon. Okay. So I have some food here. Yeah, let's just get into it. House of the Dragon on HBO. It starts this Sunday, the 21st. I'm curious because I haven't had an HBO subscription since the last time Game of Thrones was on, which was like probably 4 years ago now. And even then, I was just like putting in fake emails. But this time, I think I might give them a little coin, girl, and just not have to deal with it, so that I can go back and get screenshots, etc. Because I really want to analyze this show. I'm a big fan of the book. I have it right here. House of the Dragon is based on Fire and Blood by George R. Martin, which is, in my opinion, a pretty easy read. Some people can't get into it because a lot of the names are sort of similar, which is very true. It kind of reminds me of like Hindu and like Sanskrit language where everything's just like abigaba, and I can't separate anything because it's all like blah, 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 blah. I can't. But House of the Dragon, yes, House of the Dragon is the prehistory to Game of Thrones. It takes place like what 130, 150 years before Game of Thrones. It's at the height of the Targaryens' power. Now the Targaryens are this sort of like Aryan race that has the power to wield dragons, and this is like showing them at the height of their power, which is going to be really cool because Game of Thrones, it was like the last sort of remnants of dragon blood percolating the realm, and then well, we saw what happened there. And I guess we could start at Game of Thrones sort of ending because that has a lot to do with what I'm going to talk about today, which is I'm pretty sure, and this pains me to my heart, I'm going to keep an open mind because you never know, but I think House of the Dragon is already broken, and it's been broken by the sort of woke tummy ache that we've been stuck in for the past 10 years now or so. Thanks, Obama. And you saw that in the last couple seasons of Game of Thrones, and now I really feel like this is going to carry over into the next sort of series for several reasons. If you guys remember, Game of Thrones sort of ended poorly because the last 3 seasons, they just sort of had to make up as they went along because the book hadn't finished yet, and you can just tell how piss poor the writing, character development, the whole thing was just so awful. And they also sort of switched up some parts of the show and shot it through with woke culture. Granted, this finished in 2018, so it wasn't as saturated quite yet as woke tummy ache culture is now, but nonetheless, it really ruined the show. The only thing, well, we'll get to the music, but the musical score, the guy who did Game of Thrones, or at least the final seasons, Ramin something, genius. So fucking genius. The music itself alone is so good, and music really does, when it's hit and done well, can carry and elevate a show beyond really like memory in a way. You think of like John Williams, of course, like Harry Potter music, Jurassic Park music. I mean, John Williams did so much, but Gore Verbinski, I think that was his name. He did Pirates of the Caribbean. He's great, and the musical score like saved that show from the pits of hell. And if they didn't have that score, I don't even know if people would be able to stomach that show because it really grounded some of the shoddy emotional narrative that they tried to cobble together, the two Jews, Dan and Dave. Yes, the two Jews. They really ruined Game of Thrones. So when I heard, like a year or two back, that they were going to be making a series adaptation of House of the Fire and Blood called House of the Dragon, I was really excited because not only is it my favorite book, and mind you, this is only this is Fire and Blood, and there's like a part 2 that isn't finished yet. So this goes from like Aegon the Conqueror's conquest of Westeros to the end of Dance of the Dragons. Dance of the Dragons is a civil war that this show, this new show is going to focus on. Um, the Dance of the Dragons, it's a Targaryen civil war where all the dances clash, etc. Because a couple females didn't really feel like they wanted to participate in primogeniture anymore. So, House of the Dragon, where do we start? So again, Game of Thrones sort of went downhill the last 3 seasons, and one of the big ways they did this by getting on their knees for woke culture was they got rid of the nudity, gore, and violence towards women, violence in general, out of the show. Okay, remember this is a fantasy series in a realm of magic and dragons and witchcraft, and I guess some of the realism in the show, which made it so great, was too much for some people to handle. The nudity, I'm not really sure. Like if you watch back Game of Thrones, there's like some naked women occasionally, but they're like literally in like a Harlem, which is where you would expect to see that. Or they're sort of the nudity is sort of based around the scene. You think of like Daenerys, where she like emerges with the 3 dragons, and she's like just sort of was like burned alive. um yeah, so the nudity thing, I don't really understand why that's there coming from the left. I'm sure they think it's because it degrades women somehow. I don't really know. But you would think, again, the left would be all for nudity and the body and self-expression, but no, they're not. They are much like the right, which loves, clothes and this shame towards the body. And I love fashion, don't get me wrong, but there's this, well, we won't go into that. That's a subject for another video. But I guess, yeah, the nudity, the gore. Again, this is a fantasy show that deals with dragons and war, but I guess gore and blood is like too much, even though, whatever. And then again, the violence towards women. I don't really understand that. These, as we'll see in this coming show, um, like these women want to rule, but at the same time, they don't want any violence shown against them. It's so bizarre, and I'm gonna like go back and forth in a schizophrenic way because that's the only way I can understand what they're doing here. But yeah, they got rid of the violence towards women, and now in this new show, they're continuing the trend of no nudity, no gore, no excessive violence towards women, etc. But they're going to funnel all of that into, I guess, gory childbirth scenes to show, how violent childbirth can be. And it's just like, oh my God, it's just so bad. We can dive into this more as we talk about some of the main actors and actresses, or I don't even really know the term because the one girl, she's an Australian blondie. She plays the young Rhaenyra Targaryen. Rhaenyra Targaryen. She is one of the contenders for the Iron Throne. She's upset because the Iron Throne passes, primogeniture from male to eldest male descendant. She doesn't like that. She thinks women should rule, that type of thing. And I can even like get my head. We won't even go into it. But the actress who plays the young Rhaenyra Targaryen, okay, this is all through interviews. I probably should have linked them below, but I don't give a fuck. She in real life identifies as they, them, whatever the fuck that means. Because when I think of someone identifying as they, them, they are like conjoined and have 2 heads. But this little blondie, I guess, believes she's a they, them. I don't get it, but she's bringing that spirit to her character, I guess, in a very androgynous way. Again, I don't really get it because her character gives birth like 8 times in the book, but she said they, them. It blows my mind. Anyway, so they're interviewing they, them, and they're just talking about like what are the similarities between your character and then Daenerys Targaryen, which is the blondie Khaleesi from the Game of Thrones series. And just like the actress is like so fucking stupid. First of all, the obvious similarity is that like Khaleesi, Daenerys Targaryen is like Rhaenyra's like great, like granddaughter to some extent, or aunt or something. They're obviously related. Okay, first of all, so that's a similarity, is that Daenerys is oh, it's so bad, so bad. And then the next part was about the patriarchy. How men rule and men screwed up, and how if women, it's so boring because this conversation we've had so many fucking times. It is unbelievable to me that even after all of the reaction from Game of Thrones and how upset people were about all of this crap, they're still doubling down on this, and it just blows my mind. And it's not just this young Rhaenyra Targaryen, they them. It's the older version of her, and like it's just okay. So there's the civil war, like I said, because Rhaenyra wants to be king or queen rather, but it passes from king to male. They even had like a vote on this, the person before, to just sort of get everybody in their country in agreement to this, and everyone voted that it should pass from male to male. And like literally the very next generation, she's like, no, I'm going to be king or queen or whatever. So it's her versus the son, and the son is it's her versus, I guess, her half brother, who is the son of her ex best friend. So it's like these two female contenders, and it's just, again, it's shot through with like this anti patriarchy. They hate the patriarchy so much, and I'm just like blown away because this show thinks that they're going to create this genius commentary that's going to somehow dismantle the thousands of years of primogeniture that have happened not only in this book but in the real world. That's how things work. That's how things are passed down. I don't know what you want me to say about it. It's probably the smartest thing to do because, as you can see, when a woman wants that position and like vies for that position, she ended up destroying their whole country. And they're like, why can't women rule? It's very similar to the whole like climate change communism thing, where they're like, if we just did it right, if we just had a woman on the throne, then everything would be fine. They had a woman on the Iron Throne, and not only did they ruin their whole dynasty, but they ruined their country as well. Not saying, I don't know, not that there haven't been like one or two particular like women in history that have gotten fluffed up from historical revisionism, but I don't really understand why it's so uncomfortable for, I don't know, the primogeniture thing blows my mind, especially because this family, the Targaryens, they retain their power by interbreeding with each other, either brother, sister, cousins, what it would be, uncle, niece, that type of thing. And there's no commentary so far on like the incest or anything like that, which I think is kind of fascinating. It reminds me of like ancient Egyptian culture. And I mean like the Egyptian people that predated the Muslims that live there now, like the real Egyptian people. Like those pharaohs, they were all like brother, sister, Amenhotep and Nefertiti and all of that. It was all very incestual. And I would love to actually see the data on like incest and how often that happens, and when it does happen, is the child like 100% condemned to like some sort of ambiguity, or is it like in the show and in the books of George R. R. Martin where it's sort of like a flip of a coin, you're either crazy or a really good leader? I don't know, it's very interesting, but they don't focus on the incest part of it, or at least so far it hasn't come up. No, it's just the patriarchy and how it's just the order of things and how she's going to create a new order. I know, shocking sort of vocabulary similarities there, but she wants to create a new order where she's the queen and it passes down. I don't really know how it works. Then it's absolutely bizarre and it's absolutely crazy. And to see these actresses like talking about this, and then like the people who are interviewing them, I was listening to this one podcast and it was so fucking awful because it was just this like this person who's like so fucking retrograde, and she's talking about like feminism and how it's so much better to have like women in positions of power, and will we be seeing that in Game of Thrones? And she was being interviewed by someone who seemed like he had a lot of network connections with HBO and this show, and he was like eating it all up, which again makes me so depressed that even though the show starts in like 4 or 5 days, it already seems like CGI. We love a good dragon CGI, don't get me wrong. So I'm excited to see that, and just sort of like some of the epic landscapes and such. I'm not expecting great dialogue. I'm not expecting great acting. I'm not expecting really great storytelling or anything like that. I think what they'll do will probably be focusing a lot on sort of dragon CGI and sort of explosions like that visually, rather than like a core good show. Which again, they have such a thick, vibrant source material that they could pull from. And I'm sure they will do things here and there, but on the whole, it seems like they're going to make some sort of commentary on patriarchy and um, all of that crap. It's just so boring, you know. It's and I almost like don't want these people to be able to like create shows based on, um, you know, beloved books, you know, for them to just like ruin it. I don't know. But another thing I'm curious about in this new show is the musical score. The great composer who I talked about earlier, who did the previous Game of Thrones series, he, I guess, is a part of this team and he's been working on the music, which makes me very excited. I'm curious if they'll sort of carry over any of the sort of like Khaleesi Targaryen theme and sort of interlay it with the Targaryen theme in this show. I think that would be pretty cool. I'm curious to see like what characters, what houses get their own sort of musical theme. I think it's going to be really cool. I'm excited for the intro. I'm curious if they're going to do something similar to Game of Thrones, with the sort of Minecraft-esque sort of cities raising, etc. I really liked the Game of Thrones intro. I thought that was really well done, and I'm wondering if they're going to do something like that again. Another wokeness pimple in this show is that they cast blacks for the House of Valerian, and I can like okay, first of all, if it was obviously reversed and you had a white person take on, you know, like dreads and like black culture, it would obviously be like it wouldn't even happen right now, you know. But they could put like a whole African culture and just make them blonde, and that's I don't really believe in cultural appropriation, and I'm not trying to like just point out the hypocrisy, but it's just so obvious that it's crazy. It's so fucking crazy. But the artistic side of me is like this kind of. I wish I could put up a picture, but Corus Valerian, he's just like this big old black guy with just like long blonde dreads. It kind of gives me, and I could even get into this. Like there's sort of like a seafaring people. Like it kind of gives me like a Tia Dalma from Pirates of the Caribbean 2 and 3 vibe, and I kind of like that sort of like. Not necessarily mystic, but they're like one with the sea and nature and that type of thing. And I can almost see from an artistic point of view, like them doing that, but it's so forced and it doesn't make sense at all because one of the big things in this particular book is like hair color, and that's how like they identify that you know this person isn't a real like this you're not the father because this person has brunette hair and you're supposed to both be blonde, you know. Also like you had you know children with a guy who's like half black and the kids are like brown Irishmen, and it's just like so you're supposed to like really I guess look past the whole racial component, yet they put it in there anyways, and I'm just like so confused. They have one Asian actress as like she I guess is I think her name is like the White Worm. It's like Mysaria or something. She's similar to who I loved this character in the Game of Thrones, the Whisperers, the Master of Spiders, or whatever his name was. She seems like she could be a cool character. She seems like to be the only sort of like Far East, sort of like esoteric Asian, you know, character. I've commented this on before. The Hispanics just get like written out of every fucking thing. For as many Hispanics as there are in this country now, and how you know strong, arguably strong Hispanic culture is. A lot of times you can't get jobs, especially working class jobs and below, without you know a little bit of bilinguality with the Espanol. And the Hispanic culture is like written out of everything. You know, it's like kind of weird. And we obviously know that every fucking advertisement on TV and on YouTube and on everywhere, it's just a whole bunch of fucking N words. You know, these people who like this. I saw one while I was trying to upload this, get this live stream set up, and it's like this fucking like little black girl, and she's like going to be an engineer, and she's secretly not secretly, but like in her private life, she loves like NASCAR racing. This little black girl engineer, and it's just I'm just like we all know it's just playing on our emotions to get us upset to jumpstart us into our own civil war, and it works. It really does work because I don't think I've seen a white male in an advertisement in a very, very long time. Years, I think, since the year of our Floyd in 2020. I haven't really seen a white man. If it is, he's like some sort of sort of fat secondary character that they're like making fun of. So yeah, um, Koros Valerian is played by a black man, and again, artistically, I'm sure he could probably do a good job, and like visually, it could be worse, but it's just so unnecessary. It's just so unnecessary, and I'm very concerned with the vocal feminism, again, the racism, and the whole like they them crap that this show, again, before it even starts, is is going to be a struggle to get through. Maybe it won't. Maybe it won't. They, I guess, already have like season two in the books, or like ready to go, or they're going to start filming, I guess, which is unheard of for a show that hasn't even aired yet. But I would be very cautious if I was, in the directing studio or writing the script for this crap, because I have a feeling if this woke stuff comes out, this is not 2018 anymore. We're on the other side of the year of our Floyd. Okay, so I think if they ruin this show with this crap, this potentially could be a game changer. This really could be a game changer if they go in one direction and avoid this stuff, which I don't think they will, based on what I just told you. That would be great. Top Gun, hello. Or if they go down the ultra wokeism, which they probably will, I really feel that they're going to get some huge backlash, because the backlash after Game of Thrones ended was pretty big. But if they ruin this again, it's just going to be like. So I know a lot of people have given up on HBO and all of them. Like I said, I have a sore spot for dynasty and monarchy and dragons, and this combines all of them and a little bit of like Aryan phenotype. So I really am excited for the show. Does anybody know? If you do, leave me in the comments. When a show comes out on HBO, I'm not someone who has like subscription services, but it says it airs like this Sunday. But Game of Thrones, again, started during a different time in television, so it was like 8 p.m. or something. Does the show get released like at 12 a.m. on Sunday? And if so, then I'm going to do like a live stream reaction afterwards and just talk about it. But if it's at night, I'll probably do a talk on Monday, because I really do want to analyze this show. I'm really excited for it, and the trailers look good. Again, some of the writing, that's where I'm just like, some of these people need to fucking call me, because if I can just sort of like make some quick edits and how they like it's just like so unnatural in the way they speak. The diction and the vocabulary is just retrograde. It's not pertinent to 2022 and where we are now. Not that a show that takes place in a historic fantasy realm needs to talk like us, but there's just ways that are so awkward. You saw it in the last Game of Thrones series, and yeah. So did I talk about everything I wanted to get off my chest? I think so. Yeah. So let's see. Nudity, sex, gore. I don't know what we're gonna see, but from the trailer, there's this like sort of clip of the guy had a bunch of like bash the head in of somebody. So I'm curious how they're going to sort of sway away from the gore, or if they just funnel it, like I said, into these scenes of intense and violent childbirth. Again, all credit to women, and I know childbirth ain't easy and it ain't pretty, okay? But to focus on that as like the height of like feminine power, I guess it technically is like a big part of it, being able to birth a child and fertility and creation and all of that. But yeah, this goes to I just want to make a comment, because it's not like a men should rule or women should rule. I'm a big proponent of monarchy. Okay, so it's the family unit that rules, and that family unit is intertwined psychically and socially to the nation that they rule. So if the family is doing well up there, the families down below should theoretically be doing well too, or at least have something, a vision of like hope to aim for. But it's not that the king is doing all this, and it's not just like the queen is doing all of this. It's the whole unit that is important. It's the father, the mother, and their offspring. It's not like one is better than the other. They all have their different functions, and it's the family unit as a whole that derives the power. If the family unit in the monarchy isn't healthy, okay, and there's a lot of, let's say, incest, or they're not taking care of their gene pool, and all of a sudden the kids start to get psycho, like you don't want psycho children, because if you have psycho children, they're going to ruin your dynasty and ruin your country. So you want your children to be healthy and sound, because they have a duty to protect not only your dynasty and your position in society, but also society itself. And if you just erode that family unit into pharmaceuticals and psychotherapy, then like that's obviously going to trickle down and erode into exactly what we have now. So it's not a patriarchy thing, it's not a matriarchy thing, it's a monarchy thing that I'm a big, big, big fan of. And I think some sort of constitutional monarchy in the real world would be better match for who we are. You know, if you think democracy or republic is the highest form of government, then you can hardly believe that the universe, this world, this realm itself is a monarchy. Okay, and being in open rebellion against that by being a democratic republic or whatever is quite foolish, quite foolish. And y'all know there are a lot of parallels between the sort of Civil War familial vine breakup in House of the Dragon, Fire and Blood, with World War One, which I already have a huge bias towards because I love World War One history, and how you have a family that got too big, and if you don't have certain pressure gaps and sort of expansionist motives, and if everything just becomes too insular and it's too familial and too interbred, it starts to A, rot genetically, and B, you end up getting what happened in World War One, which of course there's always the big nose players on the sidelines, but family relationships can get very passionate, let's just say. And when you have a big family ruling a lot of different types of people, well, World War One happens, right? So, anyways, I think I'm gonna leave it there. Please let me know again if you know about the whole like HBO subscription release time thing. But anyways, I will hopefully be back here on Sunday, if not Monday, to talk about House of the Dragon. But I should probably do a live stream or some sort of video before then, because I have a lot of other things I want to talk about that's just going on in the world. So I think I'll leave it there. I love you all so much, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.